Sorry, guys.
Hey, John.
We thought,
You died.
you died.
It's possible. I could still die.
Can you
I
wait
could-
2 hours?
What?
Can you wait 2 hours?
No. What? I'll. That'll be the finale. I
Well,
died.
No, just get the show in, and then you're free to do your thing.
Okay.
It's like masturbation. Can you wait?
Yeah. No.
No, you can't. Okay, just chill.
I mean, no.
So Jeffrey Tobin got fired.
Never mind.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what? I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people.
Right.
You want people to care. You want to strike emotions. And I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one
quarter
too.
pounder with cheese in France, Mickey? What? Royale with cheese, Mickey? Yeah, I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice that my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey, everyone, and welcome to possibly John O'Grady's last episode of
for crying out loud.
Superhero Speak. I'm your host, Dave.
And John.
I'm walking with the dead. I'm actually COVID free.
Yay!
I kicked it. This one hung on, man. It was like herpes. It just wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
We're
You ever had
just,
herpes? I've had herpes.
Yes, we've had this discussion.
Yeah, it's a thing. Wrestling. It's the gift that keeps giving.
Yes.
Much like herpes. COVID goes away, apparently. Hopefully.
Well, hopefully, unless you get long COVID. I've heard a lot of people are having trouble with that. I mean, real trouble with it.
So far, so good.
Good.
So far, so good.
So we're back. John, we're starting a little late. John lost track of time, he claims.
Yep, I've got my nephew with me for this whole week, and I'm on vacation this whole week.
When you say your nephew, do you mean the Grim Reaper? Are you guys spending time together?
The Grim Reaper, yes. My nephew, the Grim Reaper, yes.
Hey, he's moving up in the world. It's a hard position to attain.
Yeah. No.
It's a position you have for death.
We're actually working. I'm actually teaching him how to program, and we're working on a mod for Minecraft.
My son would be in love with you. He called from, they're staying at a hotel up in Wisconsin Dells. And he's like, Dad, I'm going to make a Minecraft thing, whatever they call it, of this hotel room. I'm like, that's cool, buddy. He has no idea what he's talking about,
Nice.
but he believes in himself, which is what's important, as any 6-year-old should.
Good. I mean, yeah, Minecraft's still pretty cool, but making a mod, like trying to figure out what kind of blocks you want to add, monsters, all that, it's pretty cool. Anyway.
Well, besides destroying the youth of America, what else have you been up to, John?
Not much. We're just finishing. Actually, he's also into anime a little bit, and we're finishing off Bofery, which is a really neat little anime about a little girl who plays a online game and breaks the game in several ways and becomes a real monster. It's kind of fun.
Great concept, terrible title. There's nothing fun about that at all.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't really convey just how much fun it is. So
I thought you were going to say you were finishing off a bottle of whiskey, but
No, that'll be by tomorrow. He'll have gotten on my nerves to finish off the bottle of whiskey.
Oh, okay.
Word.
Right, guy? No. Okay. Yeah. See,
How old is he? 12?
he's 12. Yes.
That's the age where they start getting on your nerves big time.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
But he's-
seventh graders are evil, man.
He's good though. The only other thing on my plate is look at this. There's this new Kickstarter where I can like pledge to die. So and click.
Ooh, I hope it was mine.
How many other people are willing to kill me? You know?
Oh, if you're willing to pay, several. But how many people are willing to continuously offer this other than me?
This is true.
Okay, now wait, hold on. That is a good question for our audience. How many people are willing to kill John for free, and how many will kill him to be paid?
I kill no man for free. I get paid for this.
Yeah. There are
Thank you.
considerations.
Yes. Got a little boy's future I have to pay for.
Well, there you go.
What
All right.
about-
Well,
Good.
well, besides being COVID free, JD, what else is new in your world?
I got a lot going on. I spent the week by myself as my wife locked me in the house alone, and her and the kid went to Wisconsin to hang out with her dad on the farm. My father-in-law bought my son a guitar and an amplifier, so he hates me.
Awesome.
I know it's cool, but he's 6 and he has no interest in actually playing. He just goes,
yeah,
which is kind of cool, but it's going to get old pretty quick.
You know, that's the first thing any parent tells anybody about Christmas is don't get anything that makes noise.
It's my father-in-law. You think he's going to listen? Come on.
If he doesn't like you, yes.
We get along, actually. This father-in-law and I get along. Yeah, the other one. Yeah. But yeah, the dad, the real dad, and I get along pretty good. So so I was by myself. I have a new job. It's not 100% official as of yet.
Okay.
I think I'm still, because I was COVIDed up last week, so I couldn't go into the school. So, but I was just, hey guys, I'm gonna teach next year.
Cool.
You know, I'm gonna be a teacher. Don't ask me what yet, because they haven't told me. So I'm gonna find that out on Monday. Career tech stuff, video, graphics, applications, those kind of things. So I need a life change. I'm very excited about it. And plenty of time to do what's really important, though. And that's right. I've launched a new Kickstarter. I launched it on Tuesday, actually.
Yeah.
And it's for my book, Red Sunrise, that I talked about last week, the comic that I first came on to the show with you guys that the first issue got done, but then never got finished because my artist went cuckoo banana pants. And we had a falling out. So yeah, I finished it as a book. Very excited about this. It's been an interesting Kickstarter. It's a small project, right? It's not one of my big projects. Like the last one was a 3-volume, 1,000-page sprawling opus. This is a 150-page book, right? So it's cheaper. And you can tell by looking at the Kickstarter, I have more backers at this point than I had at any Kickstarter that I've ever run, like this early.
Already?
Wow. But the fund, just the number of backers, but the funding is down because like it's a $4 book, right?
Right.
It's not expensive. So the cool part about that is I can play around and I can get experimental, right? So I tried a Facebook Live last week. You know, I've been doing some backer swaps, just trying to be different. I actually I said it in a podcast 2 nights ago, a show called Explain Yourself. And they do like a Kickstarter roundtable. And it was me and 4 other guys that do, comics Kickstarters. One of them is a guy named Ray Chow, who does a book called Skies of Fire, whose Kickstarter is currently at $120,000. And I felt this tall. On the Zoom next to him, I felt itty talking with him because that dude, these dudes were like players. And there's me going, I got this book that, it's cool. Yeah. So that's cool. It's going good. I'd like to be making more money, but like it's doing good. But like the big ticket items usually don't sell till later in the campaign. And I haven't sold any of those yet. So like I said, typically those go in the last 10 days. And this is day 11. So
the big backing,
like the people who buy the big bet things, those tend to come later in the campaign. This is number 6 for me. That tends to be what happens.
Well, except now.
Right? Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I have to be creative to kill you this time because we're in feudal Japan, but I did have an idea in case you backed it. So I get to figure that out. I have an idea.
I like to be relied on. So,
Oh, and you are, sir. That, and I finished a book today while I was finally COVID free. I went to Panera. And I finished a book that's taken me forever to write. I'm very excited about this one. It's very different than anything I've ever written, but I have to do a second draft on it. So I don't know if it sucks or not yet. Well, you write the first draft. You don't think about it. It's true. pure id. And then you go back and, the second draft, I start going, all right, does this work? Is this good? I don't know. So I try to resuscitate it. So we'll see how that goes. Other than that, super busy for a guy who did not leave the house. It's me and the dog hanging out. Hopefully the dog doesn't have COVID.
That would be bad.
He hasn't coughed. So I think he's.
Do dogs cough?
Yes, dogs do cough.
They can sneeze too.
I mean, I know dogs.
Sneeze,
I've been sneezed on by many a dog, but I don't know if I've ever heard a dog cough.
You ever see a dog sneeze and he bounces his face off the ground and he sets for a second like, oh my God, that just happened. Like he's got like shock impact. Yeah, no,
all I know is that every time a dog has sneezed, it's always pointed right at your face at the wrong moment.
It's like the great Muda blowing the poison mist to the face of his opponents.
Anyway.
How are you, Dave?
I'm doing well. Can't complain. Was a busy week at work, but That's busy, but not busy. We're starting a new project and we're in the gathering information stage for the project. And it's just like, it's boring, but it has to be done. But I did except for yesterday, I have successfully walked 5 miles every day. So I'm back into that.
Good for you, man. Glad to hear that.
I didn't walk 5 miles yesterday because of my girlfriend. Normally on Saturdays we go and spend the night at her house, and like we got together early in the day, went to breakfast, went back to her house, and then like we went up into her bedroom and laid down, and she was out.
Oh, when you did I thought you were signaling for something else.
No.
Continue the conversation.
She fell asleep for like like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, and like she got up. Like I fell asleep too for like an hour, but like I woke up and like I didn't like I'll just let her sleep, and I was playing a game on my phone. Next thing I know, it was like dinner time. Like, and she's like, oh, well, we'll go for a walk after dinner, and then it never happened. So, but yeah, no, I mean, but yeah, I'd like one of the things was I did like when she got me the Fitbit last week. I weighed myself. I obviously had put weight on, but not back on, but not anywhere near what I was at my heaviest, which, you know, thank God for that. But down 1.5 pounds.
Good for you.
You know, so I'm sticking with it.
Good job.
And, you know, John will find me sexy again one day. That's my goal.
Never.
I do hear you're bringing sexy back.
Yeah, but that's about it for me. A real boring week, actually. You know, nothing exciting. The most exciting stuff, I think, happened over on social media.
Is that true?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with no. Continue.
So we do have a little bit of social media madness to talk about this week. Starting off, we did talk about the new She-Hulk trailer and what's with the surprise twist of Daredevil at the end, and we got Cthulhu D Prodigy.
It's Cthulhu's D Prodigy, which makes it sound like it's Cthulhu's Dick Prodigy. So I don't know if this guy listens to the show, but I'm gonna need an explanation on the D.
Rest in peace.
That's even
Bill
funnier. That's
Russell.
even Bill Russell died today.
Oh, I did not.
He of the Boston Celtics, legendary NBA center.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, I mean, that was overshadowed by the other thing we'll talk about in a little bit.
In some circles.
In some circles. He said, we'll see about this one. I'm cautiously optimistic. Yeah, I mean, there have been... The shows have not been getting the love, you know, lately, I think.
I think there's too much content.
Yeah?
I really do. I think stuff is getting lost in the ether a little bit. First of all, this GIF that you've chosen of her turning into She-Hulk looks like she's about to throw up.
It's a choice. What do you want?
It does.
It is a choice.
All I hear is yep.
And the face going just slightly green enough. It looks like she's about to hork. So clearly she's listening to the show.
Clearly. So we have a question from our audience, guys. Kassan Warren asked, anyone on your team watching Stranger Worlds? Fantastic stuff. It's awesome storytelling, blending episodic with arcs. I think the Star Trek franchise found the winning formula. So
First of all,
don't have
before you
Paramount
start,
Plus.
kudos to this man for using episodic and story arcs properly. Most people refer to episodic shows as any show with episodes, right? No,
Right.
episodic, it's done like something happens and it ends. It's self-contained. It's an episode. The narrative storytelling is when stuff bleeds over from the next. We get long story arcs. So bravo, sir. Thank you for using that properly. I appreciate it. I'm going to bow out because I know nothing about Star Trek.
So have you been watching it, John?
Paramount Plus is the only streaming service I have not subscribed to.
Me, that and Hulu for me. So it's just like, yeah, like I feel bad. He actually is a listener. We've many times, and I think that might be part of the reason he knows the difference, because we do talk about that a lot on this show. So
I am interested in watching that one. Like Discovery never really caught my eye, and it seemed like it was too out there and breaking too much of the continuity. I've not heard anything bad about this one. So
no, I haven't either, which is weird because yes, like Discovery, I've heard a lot of stuff about, like people didn't like it, but I've not heard that about this one yet. But I also don't know. I only know a couple people that are watching it. So, yeah, all right. And none of us have Paramount Plus, I think. Correct, JD?
No, I don't have Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
We had it briefly when the Paw Patrol movie came out.
Ah.
I didn't turn it on. I think we will get it when the Frasier reboot commences.
That's going to be Paramount Plus?
I believe so. We're Frasier fans in this house.
All right, guys. All right. We talked about something last week.
Tossed salads and scrambled eggs.
No, we talked about the Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer, right? And there was some discussion about the recasting versus killing the character off in the MCU, right? And I was willing to let the conversation die there. However, listening to our good friends over at Fans on Patrol, Montego was talking about this trailer, and he brought that up too, and he agrees with me. Well, he didn't say he agrees with me. He just brought up the same point I did. Like, he thinks the character is too important culturally to kill him off. They should have recast him. He's like, Chadwick Boseman is a good actor, and he enjoyed him in the role, but you need to keep the character around. It's more important to keep the character around. So that inspired me to do a poll on Twitter, and so it was closer than I thought it was going to be. And of course, we got 46.4% for recast and 53.6% to honor Chadwick, is how I put it. So, yes, you can sit there and say that one won, but it's pretty close. I think a lot of people are split down the middle on this one.
What did you expect when you posted this? What results were you expecting?
I wasn't expecting anything. That's the thing. I posted it to kind of see, like, I've only heard like one or two people say it, but like when I heard Montego saying it on his show, I'm like, I want to like get the pulse and like just at least get some people to like answer this and see what they're thinking, And,
I mean, Honor the Memory did win, but it's 43-57. I mean, that's reasonable.
Yeah. So Kassan, who we just talked about, said, what a difficult question. I think honoring Chadwick is the best decision. It introduces humanity to Marvel that isn't pronounced. Heroes pass just as humans. Sometimes the enemy isn't something we can see. It also honors cancer patients as well. Forces their plight in our mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
But we just killed a character off with cancer. So
we did do that.
It does happen. I mean,
But I'm saying, like, yeah, that I'll get back to that in a second. And then Taco Shirt Krillin said, I don't think that the refusal to recast is a dishonor on Boseman. He did an amazing job and will always be iconic. If they recast it, it would just be a simple way to keep the character going. We're all sad about his passing, but T'Challa's bigger than any one person, in my opinion. Yeah, that's basically the point that me and Montego made. And then when Randy from Colt 45 retweeted us, he said, we don't have to do it right now. And I just reiterated, the character is too important in my opinion. He's the first black superhero. I feel that character is bigger than the actor. And then Randy replied, I agree. But a full-on movie of mourning, and then, holy crap, he lives as... and it's Michael B. Jordan. And it's just like, no. He was already...
That's Bush League.
Yeah, that's a cheap move too.
If we were watching Days of Wakanda, right? All the days of Days of Our Lives, that's a soap opera. That's not.
That would be
if Fox did it.
No, that would be like if Chris Hemsworth passed away and they recast Thor with Tom Hiddleston. That would be.
But wait, they've got an extra Hemsworth right on the side that could take up.
I think there's two extra Hemsworths.
Yes.
Yeah, but one looks almost exactly like him.
That's true.
So yeah, that also that makes me wonder, are they going to kill, how is he going to die, right? Because they just did the cancer storyline in Thor Love and Thunder. And both movies were being made at the same time. There had to be communication,
Well, it's Feige, right? Feige's the showrunner.
Right.
It seems like directors are getting a little more power in these movies, but I don't think they would repeat that same thing. I imagine it doesn't necessarily, and we don't know. We have no idea. He might not have died in the movie, right?
Right.
T'Challa. He might have been killed by something else. He might have committed suicide. We don't know. Legitimately, we're all kind of, it's possible. You never know. We're all speculating at this point until we get something concrete from a trailer or whatnot. We're guessing.
Yeah. I mean, it's also in a way taken out from the comics, in the storyline in the comics where T'Challa gets into some kind of accident and in the comics he doesn't die, he goes into a coma, and that's when Shuri takes over, and that's also when Atlantis attacks Wakanda. So it feels like they are doing that storyline in a way, but
at least inspired by it.
Right, exactly. Like Love and Thunder was inspired by the Mighty Thor storyline, but yeah, it's just not exactly the same.
Inspired by the Ultimates, but good.
So yeah, it's a fairly torn fandom. We shall see how this affects the future of the series.
I'm still in the camp of just honor him and pass the mantle on to somebody else. They've got plenty of other great actors in the cast.
They got to stick the landing with this one, man. Like she's got to nail it.
But from the trailer though, I really feel like they're in the right mindset to do that, to stick the landing, like you said. Like I feel like
they didn't show her at all in the trailer, other than
no, but I feel like they're going to handle it
at the
properly.
very end.
It feels like they've got the right mindset to do it, at least from the trailer. We all know that could go wrong.
Well, of course. How many trailers have we seen that are like, oh my God, this is amazing, and then
all of Snyder's trailers.
I was about to say Zack Snyder.
All of Snyder's trailers.
Snyder cuts a really good trailer.
He does. His trailers are great. His movies are questionable.
More on that later, folks. But before we get to that,
so are his choices.
If you would like to know how you could follow us on social media and be part of Social Media Madness, here's our good friend D Square to tell you more.
Enjoying the show? Want to be part of Social Media Madness? Make sure you are following superheroespeak.com, where you can find all of the show's social media links at the top of the page. While you're there, you can check out old episodes of the podcast as well as some other great content. Check the site often because we are posting some great comic reviews as well as comic book and movie news content every day. Make sure and follow us on Twitter at SuperheroSpeak. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. You can follow them at @stars_geek. The Geek World All-Star Podcast Network include great programs such as the Pop Prison Power Podcast, Cult 45, So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Search for #GWAllStars. You will not be disappointed. Now it's back to Dave and the boys on Superhero Speak.
Thanks for that, Don. And don't forget to check out the Omega Level Nerds podcast, available on YouTube and wherever podcasts are available. And we're going to take our first and I think only commercial break, and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right. We're back. And we're going to start with some very sad news. Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura from the original Star Trek series, passed away this weekend at the age of 89. And
we met her. We talked with her. We missed getting an interview because of the management at the old Wizard World, where they put an 89, I forget how many years ago, but she had just had a stroke and they put her right behind a soundstage.
Yes, that was in, oh my God.
You remember that? That's got to be like it was the year after Wizard World started dying out.
That's right. And she was going to do the interview, but there was too much noise. We couldn't do the interview.
She couldn't hear us.
Yeah,
because of the soundstage. They put it right behind.
She kept asking us
what? Yeah.
What? Yeah. It was very difficult. My memory of her was in 2015, I believe it was. I posted this on my Facebook. So I had earlier that year, it was like the first full weekend that I'd done volunteering. It was at World Philly, and I worked with Mike Hogan from Battlestar, who played Colonel Ty. And then when I got to New York, actually, and when I was checking in to volunteer, Mike Hogan was checking in at the same time, and he's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he's like, "Are you assigned to anything yet?" And I'm like, "No, I just got here." And he's like, "All right, you're working with me all weekend." And my boss at the show was standing right there, and he's like, "Okay." He spoke, right? The whole reason I'm bringing that up is because then I was working with Mike Hogan all weekend, but we were across the aisle from Nichelle Nichols, and she came over and started talking to us. And I do mean us. It's not like a celebrity came over and started talking to another celebrity. She came over and was talking to both of us she was just having a conversation with two people at a convention. It was the most class act thing I have ever seen from a celebrity. And then that just made me more comfortable. When I walked by her table, I would just say hi, and she'd say hi, and we kept talking all weekend. She was such an amazing person. And I don't know how many people know that she had a one-woman show back in the, I want to say late 80s, early 90s on Broadway, where she talked about iconic women of color throughout history, and she would do like a tribute to all of them in the show, and it got rave reviews, and like everyone loved it. And then in the early aughts, people started talking about her doing a revival of it, and she's like, oh, I don't know, blah blah, and she said, and it was such a great story, and I'm sad that I've never saw this show, and everyone was talking to her about like, oh, you should do it, and she's like, I don't know, it always felt like there was something missing, blah blah, and like she kept telling us, everyone kept telling her, well, you should add yourself, and to hear her talk about it, and she was just like, I'm just an actress who played a role in a sci-fi TV show for 3 years on, and then obviously the movies, but she's like, I'm just an actress who did a role, like, and and even me and Hogan were both like, no, like, you were an icon, you changed television, but she was so humble, it was amazing.
And going along with what you just said, one of the things I'd wanted to ask her about when we were trying to get that interview was about her conversation with Dr. Martin Luther King. Have you heard that story?
I know that I've seen her talk about it in interviews and he told her not to do the show, right?
No. Let me, I'll read, I'm going to read this. Okay. So it was 1967, and the reviews for the first season of Star Trek were not great. Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura, had bigger issues with the show. She found it demoralizing to see her lines cut and cut again. She had to deal with racist insults offset, and as well from executives who conspired to keep her from seeing her fan mail. At the end of the first season, Nichols recounted in her autobiography, she told the show's creator she was done. The next day at an NAACP function, Martin Luther King, a fan of hers, found her and had a talk with her. He told her how important the role was and how he and his family watched Star Trek faithfully and adored her in her particular role, the only Black character. Nichols thanked him, but she said she planned to leave. And Martin Luther King said, you cannot and you must not.
That's what it was, yeah.
Don't you realize how important your presence, your character is? Don't you see this is not a Black role and this is not a female role? You have the first non-stereotypical role on television, male or female. You have broken ground. For the first time, the world sees us as we should be seen, as equals, as intelligent people as we should be. And that's why Nichelle Nichols stayed on Star Trek for the entire run.
That's pretty cool.
And it's true. First interracial kiss on TV,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, at the time, I mean, I would have, before the last 6 years, I would have said, at the time, racism was really bad, but we've got a Racism 2, The Revenge. But the thing is, in the 1960s, people were still getting over this inherent view of Black people as inferior from, the last 300 years. And seeing somebody like that in a normalized role as an intelligent person, as an expert in her field, as educated, as, just treated like normal as the rest of the crew, was really, really good for us as human beings.
I mean, it was still like the height of the civil rights movement as well. So it made sense, like, not sense, that Dr. King would say that to her. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, this is important for the movement for you to stay there, to say, like, to show us as just regular people,
Yeah.
So did you have anything to add, JD?
You guys are doing, I'm just not I like Star Trek, but I don't have the tangential connections to it that you guys do. So, this is not my time.
I just showed my nephew some pictures of me when I was, I think, 8, and I already had a Star Trek Spock shirt on me, sitting there with like my baby sister and my younger brother. It's like I had forgotten I had owned that shirt, but like that was late 70s, and it's just like it was big even then, because they didn't do the whole swag thing back then. They weren't like, what do they call it? They weren't like making shirts for every show and all that. It's just that it was so big that people were, they were selling shirts and lunch boxes and all the whole, they didn't do that for just anything back then. And usually when they did do it, it was for shows that were made to sell stuff, it wasn't because the show was popular already. And the show was already over and they were still selling it. And the first, like before conventions really got popular, the very first real geek conventions were Star Trek conventions.
This is true.
That's what really started this whole thing. I think maybe there might have been comic book conventions, but like it wasn't really a thing until Star Trek started having conventions, and then they started inviting the stars. And then you got this whole snowball of all these other fandoms saying, hey, we can do that too. Hey, we can do it all at the same time. And that's what happened.
Yes. Yeah, no, the first convention I've ever went to was a Star Trek convention. So then there were 3. We were talking about this before we went on air, JD. There are 3 original cast members still alive.
Oh.
Who else is there?
Sulu.
Sulu, Shatner, and
Koenig or
Koenig, Chekhov.
Chekhov. That's it.
Yeah.
Chekhov's Koenig. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Koenig has his own body of work. Like he's famous for Star Trek, of course. He's also famous in Babylon 5 circles as like one of the greatest villains of all time. He was amazing in that. He just had such a way larger range than anybody would have thought. So
yeah.
But yeah, I am really, really sad to see her go. This sucks.
At least she got to go into space before she passed away.
Yeah, and let's see what else. Robert Heinlein dedicated his novel Friday.
Couldn't find the mute button. Sorry.
No problem. Robert Heinlein dedicated a novel to her, the novel called Friday. She has an asteroid named after her, asteroid 68410 Nichols. Hollywood Walk of Fame, of course. Honorary degree from Los Angeles Mission College. Life Career Award from the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. The first woman to receive it. It's just, she's just, I mean, and she didn't really care about any of that. Was just, no. She's such a.
She just enjoyed the work. She enjoyed meeting fans and meeting people. And like I said, she didn't see herself as an icon, as like this person that changed the world. And it's just like, oh my God, are you kidding? Yeah, an amazing person, an amazing life, and she'll be missed.
They just don't make people like her anymore.
No.
Not enough of them anyway.
All right. Well, now let's get back to the dick and fart jokes. I mean,
I like dick and fart jokes. They don't make me cry.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, no, this will make you mad.
No, I can't guarantee that one.
Mad's a distant second.
All right. Okay. Well, first, this makes no sense to me. Ben Affleck's back as Batman, guys, and not the rumors about him being in Flash.
I'm so confused.
He is back, and he will be in Aquaman 2, Electric Boogaloo. I mean, that's the name of the movie.
Yeah, at this point, can you insert that clip from, was it Poltergeist with the girl on the street going, what's happening? It's like, that's how I feel. Like, this is...
And from my understanding about this, which is also weird, like, it wasn't like something that was filmed a while ago. Like, they added him back in recently.
God, it's going to give those Snyder people hope.
I mean, seriously, like Warner Brothers is a mess. How do we feel about this? Do we think Affleck deserves another shot at this, or
he was a good Batman?
He also said he was done. He walked away from the role. Now all of a sudden he's in Aquaman.
What'd you say, JD?
Money is good. I mean, like, he wasn't the problem with those movies.
Yeah.
You know?
He had one of the best scenes in it.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
the problem was the direction and the script.
And the lunatic fans. More on that later. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Are we just going to sell people on that this is going to be a universe until Flash erases it? Or are we just trolling the Snyder folks? Like, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it.
At this point, when Flash erases it, he has to erase Flash because they won't even show Ezra Miller's face anymore in any of the promos. They just blur it out.
I mean, yeah.
It's weird because I will say that you feel like a move like this is to sell more tickets, which I didn't think Aquaman was in trouble, you know? Oh, well, he was. Oh, wait a minute. Could they have replaced Amber Heard with Ben Affleck in some aspect?
It's a much different movie.
No.
No, not Brokeback Aquaman. I mean, like...
You mean filmed scenes with Batman?
Right, like dialogue that was important to her character, like important to the story that her character said. They make Batman say it.
Make him elicit the exposition that she would have.
It's what they would do in the comics, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Interesting. Actually, not interesting. That's the problem.
I mean, people sit there and go, no one likes Amber Heard, but everyone likes Ben Affleck. Even J-Lo likes him because, they're married again.
But at this point, it's such a train wreck. I'm not even interested. I don't even know if I'm interested in watching it anymore.
The first Aquaman was okay. It wasn't like a phenomenal movie. And now I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. I really don't.
You know who might know? You know who might know what's going on?
No.
The bots. The Twitter bots.
Oh, let's do that.
Oh, let's not, please.
So, okay. This is a show where we have talked about this movie ad nauseum.
Oh.
And we're not done, apparently. So now I will say this. I will caveat this with, people are calling this a hit piece because it came out right before the Snyder Cut was released on digital and Blu-ray for, to buy. But I don't know. I don't think so. Rolling Stone heard some rumors and did an independent investigation. Like, if you read the article, they used 2 different companies and found that the Release the Snyderverse and the Snyder Cut hashtags that were used on social media were bolstered by bots. And they said normally you get 5% bots bolstering stuff like this. This was 15%, over 15%. So 3 times the normal amount. Obviously generating millions more clicks and views than normal. The whole time, them being the Snyder camp, claiming it was all organic. And obviously it's not true. What makes this article even more interesting, guys, is there are people inside of Warner Brothers saying that Ray Fisher, who was saying all of this negative things about Warner Brothers, was working with Zack Snyder in tandem based on Fisher's tweets coming directly on the heels of Snyder behind-the-scenes demands. Snyder calls the allegations totally untrue. Fisher's reps did not respond to multiple requests to comment on the story.
That's interesting.
Jesus Christ. How much? This just gets worse every time something gets revealed.
Yes, it does. It never gets better. It only gets worse.
So
It's funny because
how much money did Warner Brothers say they lost?
$100 million.
And how? I mean, that they needed to make back. Like, how much was spent on this movie to get it to finished?
It was like literally $100 million to finish it. Like, to finish a movie that bombed.
They could have given all of the properties to Roger Corman to do movies on a budget, and it would have been better.
Here's what's funny is that if this is true, specifically with the Ray Fisher stuff, that stuff all came out right at the height of not so much the Me Too stuff, but right around, the Black Lives Matter and all that. And it really feels like, if you read this piece, it really feels like they manipulated social media to attack Warner when a lot of their executives had lost their job in relation to this, when the company was in a process of getting sold and spun off as a result of this. Like, if you read it, and then the fact that Ray Fisher's people weren't just like, that is outrageous, and didn't just snap back at these accusations, I want to say it's telling, but it made me question.
One of the things that's pointed out is the Warner Brothers CEO that he badmouthed wasn't even in charge. What?
Walter Hamada.
Wasn't even in charge of any of the stuff that had to do with the original Justice League when Whedon was directing it. Like he had nothing to do with that stuff, but he was throwing shade at him as well, and it was just like,
it's funny too, because you saw anytime that Warner was releasing anything else, the bots were attacking, right? Like King Kong and Godzilla, Wonder Woman 84. Like, if you pay attention to online behaviors and how Gamergate and stuff like that was utilized, and it is a lot of these people buy bot influence, and that does, not saying all of it, because that's what it is. You create these bot campaigns, just create just enough kindling to really start a fire. And I'm not saying there's not lunatic people out there that's whole online personality is restore the Snyderverse, because there are.
Oh yeah,
right? There are a lot of people there that every day they just look for stuff so they can retweet about a bad movie. It's a shallow, empty existence of a life. It really is, if that's all you do. But when you have these accounts that are constantly, and this is what they do, they constantly retweet. And Twitter says, this is what you should look at. So they play the Twitter algorithm is to feed you what you think you should be seeing. So you're more likely to engage with this behavior. right?
Right.
It's 15%. That's significant, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you utilize real problems. Because it's funny, because a couple weeks ago, I think it was David Walker who was talking about when they were talking about, there was this big kerfuffle online about castrating Cyborg. When they were talking about Cyborg, this is when the new Cyborg, the comic, he was legless basically. So the writer was like, you're essentially castrating a black man. Can't do that, right? And people went, oh, okay, that makes sense. This is the writer. And someone said, that was Jeff Johns. And he came out, he said, no, Jeff Johns is neither a saint nor a devil, but there were problems. And that's the thing. And that's what it comes down to. It's like, okay, this comes out and the stuff with Ray Fisher, it makes you go, huh. I'm a fan. I believe where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't think that these people were innocent to this at all. But when we watched the recut of Justice League, Ray Fisher had a significantly larger part in the Snyder version. And he was better, quite frankly. That was one of the aspects of the movie that were better.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. And the idea that Snyder did in fact pay for this social media company to create these things and made threats to be like, my fans are going to bury you. And then this stuff happens. It's just like, it's like megalomaniacal behavior in a lot of aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you run an entire like company, corporation and system on just ego alone, like it's almost like there's no good actors.
One of the other things that was pointed out in the article, I don't like the term stole, but he took Warner Brothers property. He took a hard drive that had raw footage of the movie on it, and he was working on it on his own and like would release stuff on his social media from this hard drive that he was working on that also fueled this whole thing, and it was one of those things, like, I think the idea was, like he took it and they're like, oh, he's not going to do anything with it. They didn't think anything about it, but yeah, like ego. It's the only way to put it.
Yeah.
I
mean, yeah. No, I'm just saying, it's like, I don't know what there's like literally no hope for DC fans. I mean, they could take Black Adam and Shazam and maybe start a new universe out of that. But the Flash, Ben Affleck's Batman, like even Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot's on the outs because like the second movie was kind of crap. And
that's the problem, is they didn't stick the landing.
Yeah, and and she's a perfect Wonder Woman. She just needs a good freaking script and maybe a good director too. But like they've just screwed everything at every turn. I don't know what there is left of the DC universe except for this Black Adam thing, and that's not even in the same universe. That's starting with the Justice Society. So I mean, maybe they do something with that, but it's going to require them to actually be good when this movie comes out. And then handle it well if they make, if they start doing other movies that tie into that. And, they've shown they can't do that with anything.
It's peculiar, isn't it? This whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, Warner Brothers has come out and said, too, they're not interested in...
It was a different company.
Building a universe, originally they said building a universe, they want to do individual films. They're not in a competition with Marvel. And it's like, yeah, but I feel like they said that because they tried doing it and it didn't work because they put all their faith into one person who...
All the more reason to say it. Which, again, at the same time, that kind of goes back to the idea of why you use Batman, because the Momoa Aquaman is clearly still part of that formerly known as Snyder universe. So, of course, if you're going to use Batman, you would use Ben Affleck, right? Because there's still ties. It's confusing, right?
So, what do you think this, true or not, this is out there? What do you think this does to Zack Snyder and Ray Fisher's careers?
Ray Fisher hasn't done anything aside from stuff with Zack Snyder, has he? Like, Zack Snyder essentially plucked him from obscurity.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, nobody else has hired the guy. I'm going to go on his IMDb.
Okay.
Yeah, Ray Fisher, and I'm looking at IMDb. The piano, let's see.
Does he have anything coming up, or?
Well, he's in Women of the Movement, a TV series, 2022. He's been on 4 episodes of that. And then he was in True Detective in 2019 before the Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Before all this happened. I mean, like, not really.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't really, one of those, like the Rebel Moon thing, that's Zack Snyder.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, so yeah. There you go.
Like, he did a couple episodes of this Women of the Movement, which I'm not even familiar with. I don't even know where that was.
True Detective, everybody knows about, but he was in He was in quite a few episodes of True Detective,
Yeah,
but that might have been because he was
nobody watched.
What?
Nobody watched the True Detective season 3.
Really? Okay. I all I remember was season 1. Everybody was like, "Oh, everyone."
Yeah, because season 1 was back in like 2014.
Oh, okay.
Right. He was in the show in 2019. Again, True Detective is it's an anthology show. This is the one with Mahershala Ali.
Right.
Right. So, and that one, I think that one was definitely better than the second season with like Rachel McAdams. But I mean, like, it's not the first.
But he got that because that was 2 years after Justice League. So he probably got that because of.
But he hasn't worked a lot. Like, it wasn't like this guy's career exploded because he was in Justice League. Right.
Right. So that, does not seem like a good move. I mean,
I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Zack Snyder's doing this Rebel Moon.
He's got that contract. He's got that contract with Netflix.
Right.
So he's just doing all this stuff. So even the people that are like, we can bring back the Snyderverse, like he's working with somebody else. Like Warner's not going to buy out anybody's contract right now.
So I had saw someone had posted something about this something about Zack Snyder and this on their Facebook page. And I commented about like, oh, you should read the Rolling Stone article. It's enlightening and blah, blah. And someone talked about these diehard Snyderverse fans. Someone replied back, oh, well, Warner Brothers did their own investigation and they found that it wasn't as high.
Oh,
I didn't
come on.
reply, but I'm like,
where do you think the information came from?
Exactly. Like, you're going to trust the people who make it look bad? That them coming out saying, oh, we investigated it. It's fine.
But they also investigated Jeff Johnson, those guys, and said they didn't find any what was claimed. Right. So I think this information comes from like Warner's, like they probably don't want the attention because they know they don't want to deal with it. Right.
Yeah. And I have a feeling a lot of the people that spoke on conditions of anonymity in this Rolling Stone article were people who were fired because of all of this. The people giving information are like, yeah, this happened and we weren't allowed to talk about it, but they canned us.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's exactly. I mean, who else would know these things? It has to come. It has to come from people from Warner. Probably not Warner Discovery. Probably the previous Warner Media.
Right.
Right. And I wouldn't be surprised if these were high-ranking people in Warner Media. But journalists, they protect their sources. So I think that this. I think there's a lot to this article. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sad. It's very, very sad.
Very sad. You know what isn't sad, guys? Fantastic Four is coming back.
And it's not going to be done by Fox.
No. I can't believe we missed this when we were talking about the slate that was introduced in Comic-Con. One of the comments that Kevin Feige made about the Fantastic Four is it won't be an origin story.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, they're doing what they did with Spider-Man. We've already seen the origin story too many times. So
exactly. We've already seen it twice.
2.5
times. Like, no need to go over it again. Yeah, I was going to say, what do you guys think of this? Do you think?
I think it's the best move they can make, and especially because we already established. I'm assuming John Krasinski's in it, right?
Yeah.
I have to make that assumption. It's not official. Kind of surprised they didn't say it at Comic-Con, but I'm going to live on this assumption that John Krasinski's going to come back as Mr. Fantastic. So why bother? Right? We know that story, and quite frankly, the origin story of the Fantastic Four is not their best story. It's good,
No.
It's fine, but there's better stuff to do with the Fantastic Four than establishing the Fantastic Four.
And if you read Fantastic Four #1, it doesn't really talk about the origin story. It's in the first issue. It's they come together and they fight this creature like from underground. It's not really about their origin. So it's like, because again, Stan Lee was trying to do something different when he wrote that book.
Well, they were still in the time when they were doing more science fiction stuff, right?
Yes,
they were supposed to be explorers. So
yeah, if you read it, it reads more like an old pulp.
Well, that's what it is. Because again, we talk about Stan, but it's a lot about Jack. All they are is a redo. The Fantastic Four is nothing but a reboot of the Challengers of the Unknown. Same thing.
Yeah, and then that's how it reads. Yeah,
Challengers of the Unknown, except this time they get powers.
Right.
And there's a girl. Like it's the same. It's the same exact story. Even the uniforms they get wind up being pretty dang similar, right? So, I mean, like we Stan, Jack, right? Like, and I tend to fall on the Jack side of the equation. So, I mean, like, but that being said, like what makes the Fantastic Four cool is everything that happened to them after they got their powers. So let's get to the chase. I'm all for this.
Yeah. Who do we get to play Johnny Storm and the Thing?
That's a great question. I'm going to go Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the Thing.
I would
really.
You go on the nose and say The Rock. Okay.
You could actually. Here's the problem with The Rock, though. Rock don't play second fiddle to nobody.
True.
So unless the movie is going to be The Thing, you're not going to get Dwayne.
I'm trying to picture Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
He was the comedian in The Watchmen.
I know who he is. I'm just trying to like.
They're gonna go with no, John Krasinski's not.
Is he
not young?
old?
So
he's going to be digitally animated. It doesn't matter.
Right, if he's just doing the voice, yeah.
You know?
Huh.
What do you mean digitally animated? What are you talking about?
The Thing? They ain't gonna glue hunks of rock to the man. And even if they do, it doesn't matter how old he is. We won't see what he looks like.
True.
Johnny Storm, I don't know. I don't know what they want to do. I mean, like, because the Michael B. Jordan thing from the last movie took it in a different direction. So you don't necessarily have to make, I don't know. I don't know if you go more traditional or something more akin to that. I have no idea what they want to do.
Yeah. And then
I'd make it a kid. I'd make it somebody, because, okay, then I'm thinking about this. He's supposed to be peers with Peter Parker. So I would have him someone who could pass for high school aged, right? Someone who looks like he would hang out with Tom Holland.
Still related to Sue Storm, though, right?
Has to be a little brother. But you can make him the little brother, you know?
Or a nephew.
Or a nephew. Sue's supposed to be significantly younger than Reed anyway, though. And I do think it should go with Emily Blunt because I think they have really good chemistry. And I think that she looks like she could be a badass Sue Storm. Like, I hope that casting becomes reality. If not, they'll figure something else out. But yeah, you could have the younger brother. Because I think that's important. I think that's a relationship that the MCU or the movies have lacked is that on again, off again, best friend, worst enemy, Peter Parker, Johnny Storm, right? That's a great relationship that has not been really done in any media outside of comics that I think would be fun to do.
Because they've been too busy butchering the origin story each time.
Everyone, yes.
Yeah.
No, and that's also a good reason to skip it. And yeah, I agree. And then it makes sense. And Emily Blunt, that makes perfect sense. Will they do it? I don't know, but I mean, why not?
Emily Blunt's 39 years old. John Krasinski is 42. So they've got time. They could play these for 10 years. That would work.
Is A Quiet Place the only movie they did together?
The sequel.
Well, yeah, I meant the series. And
I think so.
Okay.
Like I said, I think they have really good chemistry. I think that they look the part, and the fans want it. So yeah, let's do it.
All right, we've settled it. Marvel, if you're listening, checks are making out payable to.
Should they cast an unknown? By the way, I'm going to stick with my Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the Thing. I'm going to stake my claim on that. Should they cast an unknown to be Johnny Storm?
They've not had a problem with that before. Whoever's doing their casting, he's got a monkey's paw somewhere that's just waiting for its turn to come back around because it's been almost uncanny how well their casting has been.
Yeah, I was going to say, besides Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, what other
Chris Evans had a career.
True. I mean, he was Johnny Storm.
Yeah, he had done a lot of stuff. I mean, he's and then Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Cumberbatch.
But that was also. I mean, I feel like a big part of that was kind of like an obvious kind of fan casting idea.
It was, but they did it. They don't always do that.
But like, who heard of Chris Hemsworth before Thor?
Nobody.
Who heard of Tom Holland before he played Spider-Man?
Nope, nobody. They've mixed it up though, because they have like Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. Like, so they'll mix it up. They have like some famous people, and then they have some outsiders, and it keeps the world interesting. Like Chadwick Boseman had a career, but he wasn't like famous.
Yeah, but he also was like highly acclaimed for the movies he did before.
I'm not saying he wasn't. He was a good actor. Like, he was thought of as like a thespian, but he wasn't like movie star famous. And the Black Panther made him movie star famous, right?
And then I can't think of her name. Captain Marvel.
Brie Larson.
Yeah.
Was it? She had done a lot. She had won an Oscar. Like, she was similar, right? But she hadn't really been like in a star vehicle until Captain Marvel.
And now she literally eats stars for power.
This is true.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're right. It is a good mix.
I think that's what makes it work, actually. Because they're all like, there's nobody I think that is like bad in any of these movies, right? Like, everyone is good, right? Or they pull their weight of what they're asked to do. There's no one that's like, well, I hate to kick people when they're down, but Amber Heard sucks as an actress, and she's really bad as Mara, right? She's not very good. She looks, if you look at her and you're like, oh, that is Mara. But then she starts acting, you're kind of like,
yeah.
And there's a couple. There's a few in the series. I don't think Ezra Miller is that good either. I think that guy's dramatically overrated.
I never thought he was a good Flash. I didn't like him.
I don't like him. I didn't like him in any of the movies he's done. I don't think he's that good of an actor. I think he's vastly overrated. I think they are vastly overrated.
By the way you said you look at Amber Heard as she acting, that's the same way Johnny Depp looks at her now too. So I mean, it's.
Are we talking shit on the show now?
Apparently.
Sorry, it's gonna make people angry, but making a joke. Yeah, she's not a very good actress. Like, so it's whatever. And Momoa's good at being Momoa. Like, in my mind, he's kind of like The Rock in a way, but not quite.
But a dude, bro. He's a dude,
bro.
Okay.
And Aquaman is kind of a dude, bro, when done. Like, and it works. Like, he's a barbarian dude, bro. So he works in that role.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can give him much. Like, he was all right as Khal Drogo, but I mean, like, I don't think you can ask him to do much heavy stuff, right? Whereas most of the Marvel guys can go back and forth. They can be heavy, they could be light. You know, Tom Hiddleston's shown a ton of range as Loki.
Yes.
You know?
No, I agree. Yeah.
I think Hemsworth is someone who was probably thought of as just a pretty face. And he's done a ton of like range. Like,
yeah, he went through the whole journey of Thor. Yeah.
Like the journey, that's actually been one of the best stories of the MCU, in my opinion, is the journey of Thor. And they lean on the humor because he's really good at it, but he's not only good, right? There probably isn't enough humor in the first Thor. Definitely not the second, but there is. Yeah.
You notice they keep pushing their actors though. Like, if you asked 2 years ago, you would have said, "Oh, you know, Hiddleston is got to be the guy with the most range," and now it's Helmsworth with the most range. And you know, like maybe the Marvels comes out, we'll be saying the same thing about Kamala Khan or that actress. And
I think actors can act. Like, I think most actors get in the business to explore what they can do, right? Not just play a single role. Like Tom Holland has shown he can do a lot. Like he's got some quiet moments in these movies that are pretty astounding. Like that kid's he's 25. Like that guy's got a real career ahead of him of like potentially being like another Leonardo DiCaprio, someone who people wrote off early in his career as just like a pretty boy who wound up being one of the best actors of his generation. Like I think Tom Holland can have a similar career, you know,
and Marvel's giving him the chance to show it.
Well, just in these Spider-Man movies, right? But then he gets a chance. He's going to get opportunities to do stuff. Like eventually, you know, Wes Anderson's going to come call him like, "Hey, I got this weird movie for you," and he'll be like, "All right," and he'll do something. It's like he'll do those kind of movies, and being Spider-Man is going to afford him those opportunities.
So I will say, I never saw what's the movie he was just in based on the video game.
I didn't either. I mean, like I forget what it's called. I didn't have it.
Nobody cares what it was called. It wasn't that good.
It didn't do very well either.
No, it didn't.
But the thing is, like, that's the writing, the Marvel writing and the directing. You know, they pick the right people. They have the writing that lets these actors, you know, let their hair down, and then the directing, you know, make sure that it gets to screen. Like, they got this machine that's just almost can't.
And I've said this before. I've seen not Chris Hemsworth, Superman.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah. I saw him in what's the spy movie that he was in?
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Man from U.N.C.L.E. He is so charming in that movie, and it's like there's Clark Kent, Superman.
Dude, he's the villain in Mission Impossible, and he's fantastic.
Yeah,
like he's really, he wasn't given the stuff to work with.
Right, like let him be Superman, not this brooding Batman in a red blue cape.
So, like, I think that The Man of Steel is a very well cast movie. I think everyone in that, you look at every single person in the movie and go, yep. I don't think there's a bad cast in that, like a bad casting choice in that movie. I think the writing is abysmal. I think the direction is terrible.
Yep.
I think they didn't understand any of the characters. I mean, Superman's parents, like Superman's fathers, are Ray Kinsella and Maximus Decimus Meridius. Like, it's perfect. It's Russell Crowe and Kevin Costner. Like, in a bubble, like, yes, these two men would be the two forces that help shape Kal-El. And then you watch the movie and you're like, well, first of all, Jor-El's flying on a giant sea mad creature, but that's weird. And then Kevin Costner says, no, let me die. Just let me die.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, the problem, like, we talk about acting and directing and writing being about choices that you make. There's so many poor choices made in Man of Steel. So many.
Amy Adams could have done so much more.
She was a great casting choice as Lois Lane. She's not given anything to do.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I think too. If you watch Henry Cavill you watch interviews with him, watch him follow his social media and all this stuff. He is a nerd. Like, he loves all of this stuff. He grew up reading comics and all of this. And you get cast as Superman. I have to believe he read the script and was like, this isn't right. but I'm getting to fucking play Superman. I'm not going to turn it down.
Right.
You know? So, and he was young and wasn't in a lot of anything.
That was a big opportunity for him. It was the second time he was almost cast as Superman, right? He was almost Superman when McGee was going to make it, and then that fell apart, and then Singer made his movie that sucked too. Like, it's been very. I had this argument online that people are like Superman's too powerful, Superman's too this. Like, and I'm like, no, man, it's so easy to make Superman, right? People are like, he's just, I don't get him. I don't get him. No, this is Superman. Superman could be a god amongst men. He chooses not to be because it's the right thing to do, right? Superman is the best of what we can be, and that makes some people very, very angry.
Yes.
That's it. That's Superman, right? And that's why Luthor is so important. Like, oh, it's got to be this, it's got to be, it's got to be. No, it's got to be Luthor, because Luthor is the polar opposite of Superman.
Yep.
Right? It has to be Luthor. And that's why the casting of Luthor is critically important. Like, you need a guy with gravitas and weight. I thought Jesse Eisenberg could have been interesting, but they just didn't stick the landing.
No.
Well,
Right?
they
He's really
cast
good,
him as
so
the Joker Luthor, you know?
They did. I thought we were going to get Zuckerberg, because he's really good as Zuckerberg, but we didn't, and it didn't work. The answer was Bryan Cranston. He was there all along. If you have him do some variation on the Heisenberg character, but channel that into this evil corporate monster that represents the worst of us, that's angry at this alien, this freak who has everything, and people bow to him and worship it, and he wants nothing to do with that.
But
Why?
always
That's
in control. He's always in control.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Luthor is I think Luthor is far and away one of the most fascinating villains, because and especially when he doesn't get his hands dirty. Like the Byrne Stern, like that whole era of Luthor is one of my favorites, because he rarely gets his hands dirty. Right. And I think that's the best interpretation for a movie, because like Superman can do anything, but he can't quite make it stick with this guy. And therein lies his limitations, right? It's like Superman is Superman, but he can't control the American justice system, and he can't sway public opinion.
Right.
You know, and there's so much interesting dichotomy there for like fertile ground for storytelling. They never go that route. It's so easy, and they get bogged down in the silliness. Like, well, he could spin the planet on a finger. That's not relatable. Then you don't make him do that. You don't make him. He can fly. He can punch hard. Just stick to what works, right? And then just be charming. That's what Superman's got. You agree with me, right, Astro? Superman just has to be charming. His dad's all worked up, huh?
I just recently heard this on another podcast, and I can't remember which one it was, and I'm sure it was one of the Geek World All-Star podcasts, and I'm sorry whoever said this, forgive me, but they were making the same argument. Oh, people say Superman's not relatable, he's too powerful, blah blah, and he's just good for the sake of good. That you can't make that relatable either.
Sure, you can.
And then whoever was making the comment went, yeah, Marvel said, okay, here's Captain America.
There's no difference between Superman has more powers, but as far as like a fundamental character, they're so similar. Chris Evans could absolutely be Superman, because we've essentially seen him do it. Right? It could good
for the sake of good. Yeah.
You know who would make a great Superman movie? Kevin freaking Feige. That dude just gets it, and it's never going to happen. But I mean, like, that guy could do it. I think that he really get it. And Superman, what makes him great is he has this amazing cast of characters. He has this living, breathing world of Metropolis that makes sense. Like, you have like the Perry White and Lois Lane. Like, again, they knocked it out of the park casting Amy Adams and didn't have her do anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a failure on so many levels. And then people will sit there and tell me, oh no, Man of Steel is really good. It's like, yeah, you like the action. I like action too. But I mean, I remember watching the movie thinking, God, so many people are dying. Like, so many people,
and they're not, they weren't acknowledging it in any way.
No. And it's just, but it looks cool. Like, and that's the problem with Ray. I know you're listening. David Goyer, right? He's writing this stuff. This stuff goes.
Yeah. As he knocks the Lego buildings over.
Yeah, and there's no heart. And Superman, the thing is, like, you can have a character with a lot of heart and a character that's really likable in this world that's total shit, right? And that's what makes Superman stand out more and be brighter, is he's surrounded by just crap. And then, again, I can even get on board with Zack Snyder's, penchant for muting colors, as long as at the end of the movie, Superman is bright. And I think that could be a great artistic choice. But they don't do that, man. They just don't.
Even his attitude was dark. I mean, everything was dark in that movie, and that wasn't Superman. It's
no, it's just like, well, he had no other choice. Like again, I'll always argue this. They wrote him into that corner because as a writer, you control what's going on. They wrote him into the corner so he had an excuse to kill. And then I'm like, okay, let's see where they follow up. They didn't really follow it up in the sequel, right? They just kind of address it and kind of, here's Batman. And it's just Superman, like when he has killed in the comics, like Byrne did this really well. He killed in the comics and it drove him crazy. Yeah. Right. He creates the gangbuster alter ego. He's upset. He's miserable because and again, not a great choice for the character, but they made him feel it. I don't feel like he really felt it in the movie. Like he never really had to deal with the fact that he killed essentially, one of the last survivors of his home planet. And by the way, that's a bad idea to come out guns blazing with Krypton, with being other Kryptonians in the first.
Oh yeah, no, that was stupid because
I was gonna say that was also the big mistake of like it was. We've got a huge raise the stakes in the first movie, and it's like, and I get it, like people don't want to do the origin story again, but you've got to establish the charming, life affirming,
you need it,
good man of Superman, and then give him a foil that's the opposite, and then if you want to have him write him in a corner where he has to kill someone, that's a dark thing for chapter 2. That's your second act.
The first movie could have been like him, getting the job as Clark Kent, and then starting to do stories on Intergang and having to do with Intergang, and then with that you sort of hint at, hey, where are they getting these weapons, this technology from, and then introduce Luthor towards the end of that as the next villain. When you're also teasing Apocalypse like 2 movies down, you could run this all, and the Intergang thing is perfect because again. The thing about Superman is, yes, he can break down any wall. He's super fast and everything. All you need is to take a hostage and have them on the other side of the planet where he has nothing to tell him where that is. And he's done. I mean, like, it's just so easy to get around these superpowers without having to rely on kryptonite.
Now, here's the thing. If you want to rely on something from Superman's past, something otherworldly, right? If you feel like you need that, Bruce Timm's adaptation or interpretation, I should say, of Brainiac is right there.
Yep.
And because there's the classic dichotomy of Brainiac and Luthor, right? And then because I was talking to my buddy Todd Matthews been on the show before about like I have this great take on the bottle cities. Instead of bottle cities, like you could have Brainiac digitally copying cities and saving them in hard drives. So that could be how you get that. But I mean, like you do Brainiac, you do the computer Brainiac that was the intelligence of Krypton. If you want to do that, that's what and we've never seen a Brainiac in a movie like Luthor Brainiac, man. It's all there. Let me pitch the whole movie for an hour. Like I'll do a whole show on this. I thought about this way too much.
Bruce Timm's Luthor was perfect.
It was perfect. Bruce Timm made the perfect Lex Luthor.
Yep.
That is ultimately my Lex Luthor. When I think about it, it is absolutely that Telly Savalas looking interpretation of Lex Luthor, voiced by Clancy Brown. Like
he even made us feel bad about Metallo.
Yes. Oh, what a great episode.
I mean, a couple of because Metallo came back, but he always made us feel for it.
The tragic, like Metallo, like, and the Superman's got an underrated rogues gallery, right? Like people talk about Batman, Flash, Spider-Man as like those are the your murderers row of rogues galleries. Superman's is super underrated, because you got Luthor, who's one of the greatest non-powered supervillains, right?
Yeah.
And you've got Brainiac, who's this cold, calculating, killing machine. You've got Metallo, who is very sympathetic. Like you've got wild characters like Mr. Mex's Spitlook, who's just crazy. You've got Toyman, like loony characters, and then you've got Darkseid. You've got Doomsday. You've got the heavy-hitting monsters.
Yeah,
right. There's so much of a gamut you can run with Superman. It's so. And Zod's a great character, but he should be for a sequel. Like you didn't have to bust out, the whole Son of Jor-El and the before Zod thing. Like it's iconic, but you didn't have to do it. Damn, that should have been better. Oh God, it's been 9 years and I still can't get over it.
Oh my goodness. So yeah. All right. So what do you think about casting of a movie with Tom Hanks, Robert Downey Jr., Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Are you talking about Pinocchio?
Ian McGregor, Kean Mike. Yes, I am.
Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Guillermo del Toro. Yes, the trailer for
Del Toro.
Easy for you to say. Yeah, he's his Pinocchio.
So
trailer
just
came out.
how much acid do you have to drop before you watch this movie?
Copious. No, you just have to go in expecting a Guillermo del Toro movie.
Right.
Well, that's
so
hang
you
on,
bring
hang
the
on.
acid.
Pardon me. Dog got into something. Give me a minute.
Yep. I love these little segues.
So, oh my goodness.
I'm back.
There you go.
Bored puppy.
Well, yes, he has a very interesting visual style, but he's also a good storyteller. Like, I don't know.
He loves monsters. I think that's the best thing I can say about Guillermo del Toro. And I think he views Pinocchio as a monster.
I was about to say, and he kind of makes Pinocchio the lovable monster in this trailer.
Which is, have you ever read the original Pinocchio?
Oh, it was horror. It was a horror show.
It's a horror story. Yeah, I mean, like as most fairy tales are. Like, I think this is going to be up the Guillermo del Toro train. You know, it's going to be spooky and horrific and but with a ton of heart, right?
Right.
And less fish sticks, but you
never know. They are going to go inside of a whale.
Oh God damn it!
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Oh God damn it!
Now we know why he wanted to make it.
Let's get it on.
Yeah. So I mean, it's going to be on Netflix. So
I'm going to watch it. I think it looks great. To be honest with you, I'm very excited by this movie.
Do you think you have to watch it once before you let your son watch it, or do you think?
Yes. Absolutely 100%, because it is Guillermo del Toro. I don't know what he's going to do all the time.
You don't bring a kid in cold to a Del Toro movie.
At the same time, you know, movie scared him a lot. Disney movies, Pinocchio.
Ah,
that kind of makes sense. Even the original
freaked him out, man. When those kids are turning into, it's kind of spooky when those kids are turning into jackasses.
Oh my God! Do you remember
scary stuff?
End of the movie when the pedo finds Pinocchio and he's still a puppet, but then he's got the donkey ears and a tail, and he's like crying over him, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, that is pretty horrific for a kid to watch.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Like
my poor
it's
half donkey, half puppet child.
Spooked me out as a kid. Spooked the kid out too. Like, so I think all good fairy tales should have horror elements to them, because it's just what makes a fairy tale.
Yeah.
That's why that's why Grimm is so the Grimm's.
That's why we called it. That's why the phrase became Grimm.
Yep.
You know, and I think that the old Disney stuff is the same way.
Well, the idea is behind a fairy tale is to scare you from doing the bad thing. Yeah. That's the moral, right? So,
well, you can't do a bad thing if you're not alive because you got scared too hard.
Well, at the same time, like all villain, like a hero, be it the superhero. We talked about the Superman, right? A hero is only as good as his villain, right? Yes. And a good fairy tale has great villains, and Pinocchio's full of them, because there's not just one. Like, it's really a man versus nature story in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of great villains in Pinocchio. So I'm very curious to see what Del Toro is able to do with this, because the man's got an incredible imagination.
Yes, he does.
True.
All right. Well, that was
you bastard.
Doggies. They make the world go roundy round. That is all the news for this week. Unless you had something else you wanted to add,
Wife's
John.
been gone for a week and he's dogs attacking her mail.
Nice.
That's all the news, unless you guys have something to add, John, JD.
The dog is a bastard. That's what. You are trouble.
Oh, but he gives you doggy kisses and you forgive him.
I love him so much.
Sharing me.
Too big to pick up.
I got
big dog.
Yeah,
big puppy.
He's only 7 months old.
Oh my God! So you're gonna rent a horse ranch, right, for him to roam around and possibly eat the horses? Looks pretty.
I think his headphones got disconnected.
He licked my headphones off.
Given how big he is, it's a good thing he didn't swallow them.
He's gonna be big. He's gonna be probably about 70 pounds when he's done growing. Trouble.
70 pounds.
About 70 pounds.
Yeah, it's not like you said 7 pounds. I'm like, oh, that's not.
Oh, no. He's much bigger than that.
And one day, Andy will be riding him like a horse.
He tries already. We have to have conversations with him. You cannot ride the dog.
Well, you can.
No, he's bigger than the dog right now, so you can. Now, that might not last for much longer, but as of right now, Andy's still big. Not by much, though.
All right. So let's, guys, have any recommendations or anything that you learned on the podcast? We'll start with JD before he gets distracted by the dog again.
I have a Kickstarter going on. I learned that John is a great friend and a good backer, and he'll always die. So as long as he wants to keep going. Yeah, that's what I learned. I learned that a good campaign requires good friends and Kickstarter rules because it inspires people to go get your stuff much more so than throwing it in the ether that is Amazon. Kickstarter rules. I'm going to recommend more Toy Galaxy. When I was sick last week, I just sat down and let that thing play on autoplay. Like, it is the greatest YouTube channel ever, in my opinion. I love documentaries, and that guy's got great personality, and I learned a ton about cartoons and movies, and it's awesome. I know I've recommended it before, but I'm gonna recommend it again. Go watch Toy Galaxy.
Not bad.
Oh, I love that channel. They just did what did they do before The Secret of Nim that I was just watching?
Oh, they did 2 weeks of stuff I wasn't familiar with. There was like maybe some older anime type stuff. I didn't know either thing that they did.
I'll have to check that out.
The He-Man, the New Adventures of He-Man.
They did do that. Yeah,
that was an interesting story.
It was.
How about
everything about He-Man is awesome. Like, just trying to make that work after it didn't anymore. They actually thought that movie was going to make money. Can you believe that?
They thought the movie was going to make money, but they had the same issue with that they did with the Transformers movies, with the mindset of like, well, we want to sell new toys, so we don't want all the same characters in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like,
and they change everything about it. John Burns said that Masters of the Universe is like the greatest Jack Kirby movie ever because it's like a Jack Kirby movie. They're walking through a boom tube. They're coming to Earth. The He-Man's basically Orion. What it is not is an accurate interpretation of Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, not even close.
Astro!
All right, John.
So before things go to hell there, I've got really nothing. I finally managed to get through all of Jim Butcher's books, and I'm now on Peace Talks, the one I haven't read yet. And I think he's got 2 more after that. I'm actually, since I've read the entire series all the way through, it's kind of interesting because I got the cadence of how he was doing and how he got better over each book. And then you hit Peace Talks, which is one he wrote after being very sick and going through divorce and everything. And you can see that he kind of faltered a bit. So he seems, I mean, it's kind of, I've never had the opportunity to actually see that in writing, to see how that happens. It feels like he's getting better as the book goes on, putting things back together again. But the book itself, I mean, the whole story with the book is awesome. So I can't wait to see the next 2. I really don't have anything extra except, love your nephews and nieces and your kids, because,
because he's in the room listening.
After this, I have to chase him to get him to go to bed.
My daughter is upset with me because I've downloaded the new books and I haven't read them yet, and she wants to talk to me about them. Which also, I was shocked her husband has never read them, so now she's getting on him to read all the books.
And she married him?
Well, he was a Harry Potter fan before they got together. What do I have? I will recommend that you go to superheroespeak.com, where you can find the podcast every week. Links to all our social media at the top of the page, and of course, comic book reviews by our good friend D Square. And I'm looking at myself. My hair is driving me nuts tonight. And recommendations, I don't have any this week. What I learned is that John is a good uncle.
John is a good uncle.
And a good friend.
John is a good friend.
And an inspiration to us all.
Let's not go crazy.
So,
no.
Let's hope this isn't his last episode.
This is true. It's fair.
It depends on how hard I get killed in this book.
I feel like that's a challenge.
Oh God. I can't wait to see it.
So, on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening. Don't let your cape get caught in the door. Have a good week.